Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, the first live stream of the week. And this week we've got something a little bit different. Of course, right now we are in the middle of an international break. So there is nothing to talk about in terms of tactical previews, creating lineups, or anything like that. We don't have anything to talk about on that front. But instead, it does create the ideal opportunity to talk about the future of Manchester United. So not necessarily, just the upcoming weekend and things like that. We can look further into the future. And what I want to do today is really assess the current state of the Manchester United midfield, the options that we currently have. We're going to go through this player by player, looking at our midfielders. And hopefully once we've done that, we can get an idea of what we're going to need in the future to actually build. I think most of us are under the impression that we will probably need, once again we say this every year, but we'll probably need a new midfielder in the summer. So hopefully by sort of going through this exercise today, we can figure out what sort of midfielder we are going to need. Now the way that we're going to do this is you guys are going to be super important today. I mean, you always are, but more so than ever. What we're going to do is we're going to go through this little document here, which I have made. Now, if you're new to the channel, you probably haven't seen this before, but around 10 months ago, we were doing this quite regularly. We would take a position, break it down into 6 different categories, as you can see here, and then rate players on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, basically the way we'll do this is we'll pick up someone like Ugarte, for example. Ugarte in the Manchester United midfield, and we will go, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate his IP1, which is going to be his in possession 1. So that will include first phase progression, press resistance, ball retention, and volume passing. We'll give them a rating of 1 to 10, and then once we've done that, we can get a sort of average score to figure out where the midfield is doing well and where it's not performing so much. So for example, last year we found that in this section here, the ground coverage, the physicality and things like that, we were really lacking, whereas in other areas we were doing quite well. And like I said, that sort of gave us an idea of what we needed to sign in the summer. So that is the plan for today. Before we get into any of that though, guys, do hop in the chat down below and let me know how you are doing. We've got several of you in there wishing me a good morning. Good morning to you guys too. Hope you are all well. Felix Nemecha links this morning. Yes, I saw that about 10 minutes before I started streaming, and I thought it was actually quite apt that we saw those links this morning, considering what this stream is today. He's a player that I really like the look of. He's a really nice midfielder. Been injured recently, so I haven't been able to scout him as much as I wanted to, but he is a good player. Morning, Josh. How are you doing, mate? How are you doing? Those streams were class. Love doing that stuff. Well, we're back today. We're doing it all over again. Bobby the Bob, how are you, mate? Currently in a lecture, but still had to pop in. Good morning, mate. Hope you enjoyed a lecture. I love this man. He's always skipping classes and stuff to get in here. What an absolute lad. Anyway, so this is the plan basically for today. We are going to go through the Manchester United midfielders, and yeah, we're going to assess them, rate them, and figure out where we are strong, where we are weak. I typed subscribe to AJ Analysis in the UPTV live stream chat, and they removed it. God, I just hate it. No, I love UPTV. Sam is an absolute legend of the game. But this is war. I'm kidding. I love the guy. Anyway, should we get into this? Now, you'll notice we've got a slightly different tactics board today. This is actually the Once video tactics board, so check it out. I talk about their software quite a lot. If you want to use it, go check out the website. Anyway, let's get into talking about the Manchester United midfielders. And there's 2 ways we could do this. We could go through Ugarte and assess him in each of the sections, or we can focus on one of these sections first. It is up to you how we're going to do this. We can go basically this way, rate them all in the first phase of possession, or we can rate them this way and go player by player. We also need a conversation around Casemiro and Eriksen, because are they even going to be here next season? So is it worth talking about them, or are we assuming they are going to leave, so therefore we don't need to talk about them? Again, you guys can sort of dictate and control and dominate that a little bit. Anyway, we'll start off with Ugarte and his in possession 1, and then we can work from there. So I want you guys basically to rate Ugarte on a scale of 1 to 10, and I'm going to give my opinion on this, of course, as well, because that's what I do, right? I just force my opinions on you guys. So Ugarte, in possession 1, we are talking about first phase progression. So Ugarte's press resistance, his ball retention, but also his volume passing. Now, what I'm talking about when I say volume passing is someone who does a lot of passes, a high volume of passing. And we're sort of talking about not necessarily tempo setting just yet, but the ability basically to drop into these deeper positions and get the ball ticking over. Let me quickly grab a football. Let's grab a football down here. Yeah, the ability to drop into these areas and play in the first phase. So when the opposition are pressing us, can he take the ball under pressure? Can he sometimes drop the shoulder and turn away from people? But also, can he pass his way out from the back? Now, obviously, if we're giving someone a 10 for anything, we are talking about them being elite, one of the very best in the world in this department. If we're giving someone a 1, we're basically saying probably time to call it a day, maybe go into plumbing or something like that rather than being a footballer. So what do we reckon for Ugarte in this phase? Is it 1 to 5 or 1 to 10? This year we're going to do 1 to 10 because we sort of drifted towards that anyway last year. So we'll go 1 to 10 this year. Where would you rate him? Now, I'll tell you straight away, he's not getting anything higher than a 7 for me. Just because I think his ball retention is good, but I don't think he's press resistant. He shows glimpses, doesn't he? He does show glimpses. What do we reckon, guys? We could split this up into polls as well if we want, although it might take a while. Josh, it was just the first job which came to my head, mate. 7 out of 10. People saying 5. A 3 or 5 max. 6 out of 10. I think a 6 is about right. We're not talking about an elite player here, but we are talking about a competent player, right? Someone who can play in the first phase without being amazing. So let's give him a 6. I'm happy to give him a 6. Now, where do you guys want to go next? Do you want to go across and continue talking about Ugarte, or do you want to talk about Bruno? I reckon we should keep talking about Ugarte. I think we should do Ugarte's whole profile and then go to the next player. We're going to do it like that. Okay, Ugarte then in the next phase. Now, we're talking about volume passing again. Someone who is actually going to get on the ball and pass about, but also tempo setting, the ability to sort of be like a metronome to dictate the tempo of a game, but also progressive passing. And what I should also add to this, and I don't know why I haven't, so sorry for that, is ball carrying, because I think that's also really important for ball progression, right? So what would you say for Ugarte here? Let me quickly go over here. We're talking about, let's get some of these other guys out of the way. Get out of here. Get out, mate. We don't want, there we go. Ugarte, on the ball, here. Is he someone that's going to get on the ball and sort of dictate it with lots of good passing, sort of spraying it about, keeping us ticking? How good is he at progressing the ball through the lines, you know, sort of punching the ball through the lines to progress? How good is he at carrying the ball forward? Which, to be fair, I think he does well at times. He sort of like shuttles forward a little bit. Yeah, what do we reckon? Again, ball retention is important, and I think that is probably where Ugarte performs a little bit better. David, thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much. Also, good morning. Did I say good morning, David? I don't know if I did, but welcome to the stream, mate. Guys, linked in the chat, right at the top of the chat, there's 2 links. You've got the second channel, which, I don't know what I was going to say there, is the second channel where we don't talk about Manchester United, basically. We've spoken about Adam Wharton, we've spoken about Asensio, we've covered several Champions League games, we've spoken about Nottingham Forest. I'm going to be doing international coverage over there, maybe a stream tomorrow, but I need to figure out how to do it, so we will see about that. And also, the other link you will see is a link to the Discord server, which, like the second channel, is completely free, so why not get involved? Why not go get involved? We also have David in the chat with the gifted membership. David, thank you very much. Guys, you know what to do. That chat right now should be full of green love hearts, green stars, all of that stuff. Make sure to say thank you to David, because he's an absolute legend, and he continues to give to this community, to help this community grow. So David, thank you very much. David, what are your opinions on Ugarte in this phase? What ratings am I seeing so far? I'm seeing a 5, I'm seeing a 6, a 5, a 6, 7.5. Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to avoid 0.5s, I think. I might change that rule towards the end. Those of you that were here last year will know that I don't know what I'm doing, so at times I did change it a little bit. I'm seeing a 5, a 3 or 4. Due to the fact that he is not press resistant, his ball carrying is quite average, to be honest. I think he sort of shuttles the ball well at times, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm not talking about necessarily driving past people, but when there's a bit of open space, he can go into that. But I don't... is he a 6 again, do we reckon? Is he a 6 again? A 5? A 6? A 5 or 6? What do we reckon? 6 is fair. He is good at ball retention, making simple passes, I agree. But he often dumps the press-resistant responsibility to someone else. His progressive passing is subpar. 3 out of 10. Ooh. The AJ Talks Tactics is growing pretty fast. I love that channel. I love that channel. Should we go 5 or 6? 5 or 6. Quickly in the chat, guys, put a number. 5 or 6. The first 10 I see, I'm going to, whatever number I see the most, that's what we're going to go for, right? 5, 6, 5.5. Josh, you're going to get banned. 6. Ugarte is a 6. Okay, I'm seeing 6s. I'm seeing 6s. I'll give it 30 more seconds, but right now I'm seeing 6s. 3. I think it's a little bit low. Seldom gives the ball away, keeps it simple. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he's just average, right? Which is 5 or 6. You could go as low as a 5. I do see that argument. Oh, there's now a lot of 5s coming through. Oh, there's a lot of 5s. You know what? You guys have spoken. We're going to give him a 5. We might come back to that. We might come back and change it. Anyway, next. Third phase progression. Does that make sense? Maybe not. Final third work, basically. So we're talking about work in the half spaces, zone 14 creativity, and ball striking. So what does that actually mean? Well, in terms of half spaces, we're talking about this little zone here, if you like, in here, this little area. We're going to be talking about this little area over here. Those are the half spaces. And then zone 14 is going to be in here on the edge of the penalty area. Now, in terms of ball striking, we're talking about the ability to get it here and just twat it in the back of the net from long range. Which isn't something that Ugarte really showcases, although his one goal for United was actually really good. But what do we reckon? Just saying, if he's a 6 in the first phase, he's not a 6 in the second phase as well. He's worse in the second phase. Yeah, I guess that's where you could sort of start bringing in the 0.5s as well. Maybe he could go down to a 5 if not. Don't have much data to judge him on that, to be honest. Yeah, we don't really see him getting forward into... Recent weeks it's been a bit more common, right? Because we've often seen Bruno playing as a sort of solo pivot, whilst Ugarte goes further forward. But he's not a creative player. That's not a massive criticism of him, right? You know, when we go through this, there's not going to be a player, apart from maybe Bruno, who excels in all 6 departments, because that would be the perfect player. So we're unlikely to see that. So a player might have like a 3 or a 4 somewhere, but that's absolutely fine. I think realistically, a 3 is fair. If we're talking about... You know, let's say this is compared to Premier League footballers. So a 1 would be, you know, those relegation, or not even a relegation teams. The worst midfielders in the league at that job. Ugarte is down there. So I think a 3 is fair. Anyway. Time for the out of possession stuff. Now this is where we should be looking at Ugarte a little bit more. This is where he should be a little bit stronger. What we're going to do, it's not his game. Yeah, exactly. This should be, though, the defensive work. So we're going to start off with deep defense, out of possession 1. By the way, that's what OOP means, out of possession. I don't know if I clarified that. So this is deep defending. This is defending sort of on the edge of your own penalty area. So your defensive screening in front of your back 4, kind of shuttling side to side. Your ability to win the balls in the air, perhaps balls into the box. And that, of course, comes into box defense. So we are very much talking about not the high press. We'll come on to that in a second. I'm talking about the opposition... are in a phase where they're dominating the ball, they're keeping it ticking over, and Ugarte's got to shuttle in this area and screen and protect his back 4. How do we rate him here? What do we reckon? That's not his job or game? Oh, of course it's not his game, and that's absolutely fine, that's what I'm saying. If it's not Ugarte's game, that's fine. Someone like Bruno is going to have elements of the game which aren't his game. Same for Kobbie Mainoo, same for Collyer. Like I said, we are not going to see... voice crack. We're not going to see any player that gets... like 7 or 8 in all 6 departments, because that player doesn't really exist. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Anyway, what am I seeing here? I'm seeing a 7. I'm seeing 7, 8, 10, 8, 7, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7. So should I try and... Okay, let me try and bring my opinion to this. So I think Ugarte is quite an effective screener when he does it. I think he is good at getting across here. I think he brings a mobility that our midfield lacks otherwise. I think he's good at that job. I do think at times he can be a bit too aggressive towards the ball. So let's get an opposition player in here. Let's call it a number 8. Opposition player in here. Oh, I just got 2. I didn't mean to do that. Let's put him in goal. Opposition player got the ball here. Sometimes he wants to jump out a little bit too much. But I think realistically, if we're talking about Ugarte, you know, this season, we've seen him in games against City, against Liverpool, for example, Arsenal. He does do well in those games. He is good in that role where you've got to sit a little bit deeper. Now, I don't think we can go quite as high as an 8 because I think he does lack judgment in a defensive situation. And I think aerially, maybe he could go as an 8, but not any higher than that. Not any higher than that. Yeah, by the way, guys, like Chad has just put in the chat, you don't need to put your rating multiple times unless I ask for it again. So just put it once and I'll have a little scroll up and have a look at the chat and read it. You don't have to put one rating for the same player 4 times, okay? So I've seen 6s and 7s, I've seen 8s. For deep defending, he's a 6. He is better when defending aggressively. I think that's important. He's going to do much better when we talk about up here rather than down here. I think sort of like a 7 is about right. I think a 7 is about right. Like I said, he's going to rate much better when we talk higher up the pitch. He's going to do better up there because in the press, he's really good. Really, really good for us. Actually, in deep defence, sitting just in front of the defence, good player. Does the job, brings mobility, not great at defending the actual box. So I think a 7 is about right. I think a 7 is about right. That's what we'll go for now. We might change it. Anyway, this next one's really interesting. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to skip one here. Yes, Snicky, I sort of agree, mate. Ugarte loses 59% of his tackles. Yeah, we'll come back to that in a second. What I want to do is skip this column just for now and actually talk about Ugarte's high defensive work. So his high defending, his pressing intelligence and his intensity. For me, this is where he's at his best. I think this is where he's at his best. So let's say the opposition are trying to play the ball out from the back. They're trying to play in the deeper phases over here. You need someone to go back them up, you know, back up the high press and try and tackle someone receiving the ball. I think Ugarte is quite good. Good energy, good intensity. I said this when he first signed. He sort of jumps from tackle to tackle quite well. So he's one of those players who can go into a tackle here, and then if the ball bounces loose, he can go into this one over here, and then also the next one. So I think he does pretty well here. And I'm thinking like a sort of 8 rating. I think he's really strong in this department. I think he's a good presser, a strong presser. Perhaps lacks the pure physical size to be one of the best, one of the very best. But I think he's a solid 8 here. And the chat seems to be agreeing. Also a couple of 9s in there as well, 7s. He's certainly in that realm, isn't he? 7, 8, 9. And I think if those are the numbers we're coming up with, 8, slap bang in the middle, sounds about right. He is phenomenal in the high press, an 8 or a 9. I think also we would see even better when the pressing system is better. I still don't think it's perfect at the moment. I think if we can improve that, then I think he could go up to a 9. But I think right now, in terms of the sample size we've seen at Manchester United, which is what we need to base him off, really, I think an 8 is fair. I think an 8 is fair, and it could go to a 9 because he is good in the pressing work. Anyway, now I want to go to the in-between. So we've covered deep on the edge of his own box. We've covered really high in the press. What do we make when he's in between? Ground coverage. Good, he does cover the ground pretty well. Duel winning. He battles like a dog. Which I love to see. We've lacked that in our midfield for quite some time. But he is inconsistent. I haven't got the numbers right now, but he ranks very low. Very, very low for the percentage of dribblers that he's tackled. The numbers aren't pretty. So he makes a lot of tackles, which is going to boost his rating. But his tackle success rate is going to bring him down a little bit. Because I spoke about this when he first signed, right? Sometimes he's going to dive in, he's going to overcommit and sort of get sold a little bit. Again, with the ratings also, let's remember that a 10, we are talking about, realistically, the best in the Premier League at doing it. If we're talking about a 1, we're talking about the worst in the Premier League at doing it. 5 and 6 is obviously therefore somewhere in the middle. 8s and 9s are very high. So keep that in mind. See you later, Josh, mate. Have a good one. Have a good day at work. Ground coverage and game awareness, good. Duel winning is moderate. Physically also moderate. I think that's fair. There you go, guys. What stat that is. Obviously, Collyer has a smaller sample size. But Collyer has a win rate of 83% in his tackles. Ugarte just 41%. That's low. That's low. His percentage will be low because he is relentless and will recover. His percentage is low for me because his technique is poor approaching a tackle. But like you said, because of that relentless nature, because of that dogged work rate, he does recover himself a lot, which is going to boost his rating. I'm thinking around a 7 again for me personally. I think he commits in the duels, disrupting with fouls even if he loses it. Yeah, so the issue I've got, right, basically, is sometimes when a player is dribbling, he has this trait. Let's say a player was dribbling this way across the pitch, right, like diagonally across the pitch. What Ugarte will do, because he, he's got that tenacity about him, that bite, he almost wants to fight people at times. He's going to come sprinting across over to the tackle. What we often see is that he'll then sort of, if the opposition player changes direction, Ugarte can be left really flat-footed because of his approach. I think a lot of it, I mentioned this with, who did I do a video on the other day? And I was talking about this. I can't remember. Willy Kambwala. No, we were not talking about Kambwala. Who were we talking about the other day? I can't remember. We were talking about someone having long legs. And basically, long legs gives you an ability to tackle, to reach. And Ugarte doesn't have that. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have the longest legs, which to sort of like bail him out of those situations. But he almost approaches duels as though he does. Like he has the ability to make the clutch recovery tackle. So I think 7 is fair. He reminds me of Kyle Walker a bit, where he masks his poor positioning with his pace. I think that's fair. I think we're talking 6 or 7. Was it Kukonki I was talking about? I can't remember. Was it Kukonki? You're right, because I spoke about Wan-Bissaka and Collyer as well. Yep, you guys are right. What number do we settle on here? 7? Is a 7 about right? I think I'm happy with that. Collyer has 6 tackles per game with 80% win rate. Ugarte has 4 tackles per game with 40% win rate. Yeah, of course we have to apply the context of the fact that Collyer has played far less games. So the sample size is much smaller, so the numbers are going to be skewed. But that does point slightly to the fact that Ugarte can struggle. 6, 7... Do you think he's worse here than he is on the edge of his own penalty area? Do you think he's worse here? What can't be quantified is that Ugarte doesn't make it a one-time duel that the attacker can win. Ugarte interrupts movement with his presence. He irritates. Yeah, I do agree. Like, again, I always say he's got sort of that bite to the way that he plays. He wants to sort of nibble at heels, clip your heels, and subtle things like that. We're going to go over 7 for now, but we can come back to this and change. We can come back to this. Anyway, next up, and I believe I put him in the thumbnail, Bruno Fernandes. Now, this is a bit of a controversial one, because is he a central midfielder in this system? In the 3-4-3, long term we're talking here, is he a central midfielder? He's certainly an option for that role, but next season, do you see him continuing here, or do you think we will see a change where he'll go back into the inside forward? He'll be a left 10, for example. I don't know where I see it going with Bruno. I don't know what direction is going to go next season. And I think it is important for the recruitment to try and understand this at some point. Is today the day to understand that? Possibly. Should we look at Bruno in midfield and give him some ratings? Should we do that? Should we do that? Or would you rather go to someone like Mainoo? You guys can decide. Would you rather talk about Bruno, or do you want to go to someone else? Because is he going to be here, or is he going to be here next year? I'm not sure. Ideally, we push him into the Lamb spot next season, but he's always going to be a great rotation option. You know what, we'll include him in the conversation of midfielders, because even if he isn't a long-term midfielder, he's always going to be an option, like you said. We could always move him there, even if he's not going to play there long-term. So let's talk about Bruno. And yeah, David, I think you're right. His position next season, for me, dictates our whole transfer window. I genuinely believe that. So it's important to figure out before the end of the season, but we'll maybe cover that over time. Anyway, Bruno Fernandes. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the obvious, okay? Third phase progression, half space work, zone 14, creativity, ball striking. He's 10. For me, he's one of the very best in the league. I think Kevin De Bruyne is up there with him, of course, but I think apart from that, he is a little bit better than everyone else. So Bruno goes top there. I think also his pressing work. No, we'll come back to that actually. Bruno Fernandes first phase. Let's do it in logical order. Bruno Fernandes first phase. Press resistance. Not his strongest point. Ball retention. Also not his strongest point. He can be a little bit loose in possession. Volume passing. Good. He has become someone who gets on the ball a lot more. So what do we reckon for Bruno in the first phase? So I'm talking about Bruno here. Playing out from a goal kick. Playing from a goal kick. Here, this position. What do you reckon? Because here he isn't a 10. Up here, 10. Here, he's not. He's not press resistant as such. He's not a dictating midfielder, although he might become that a little bit later in his career. 6 or 5, he has to improve so much. Same as Ugarte. I was about to say, I think if we're making a comparison to Ugarte, he's probably similar to Ugarte in this area, if not a little bit better. He surprisingly turns up in the big games when taking the ball in the first phase and triggering counters. I agree. Literally where he was moved, and he does a great job there, but he's not elite. Yeah. 6 or 7, I think. 6 or 7. What do we reckon? 7, if Amorim uses him there more than Ugarte, he must be better. It's weird because it almost changes game to game. Who he uses more. Should we go 7? 7. We'll go for 7. Second phase. Volume passing. So again, we're talking about having lots of the ball, lots of touches, lots of passes. He certainly does that. Tempo setting. Perhaps not, because at times he's a little bit too direct, although I think he's improved a lot here under Amorim. The amount of times you see Bruno these days telling people to calm down and slow down is mental. I never thought I'd see the day. He has drastically improved in that area. Progressive passing, amazing, right? Amazing. So, is he an 8 here? Is he an 8? Like I said, pure final third work, he's the best in the game for me, out of Premier League midfielders. Trying to think of other players in the league that play in this role as well. Maybe a 9? I could hear a 9. I think an 8 is the number that I want to go for, but I will wait and see what you guys say in the chat. 7/8, 8, 9. 9, and only because I don't want to give him 2 10s. He's incredible at progressive passing, one of the best I have ever seen. I'd actually give him an 8 in P2, but never a 10 in P3. Would you not give him a 10 in P3? I think he's the best creator in the Premier League. Lately, would say he's probably closer to a 9 than a 7. Yeah, again, he's almost like that proper 8.5, isn't he? I think he has improved a lot under Amorim. I think he's become a more complete player. Yes, obviously at the moment he's getting loads of goals and assists and stuff, but I think at the moment he's developing a lot deeper as well. Only because he's forcing it a bit too much. Yeah, that's why for me he can't quite go to the 9 and 10 right now. I do think, the next couple of years, if we take that path, he could become this deeper dictating player. I don't know what way it's going to go. I'm happy for an 8 though. Anyway, out of possession. We're going to start at the front because he is a more aggressive midfielder, and then we'll work our way backwards. So high pressing intelligence and intensity. Intensity would be a 10. Pressing intelligence, I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Because he can be a little bit daft at the moment. I kind of came up with a term at one point, an antici-press, which is where you anticipate the press. And what he'll do is he'll assume a player is going to pass one way, so he'll overcommit that way, and then the player is going to go the other way, and he sort of gets sold out a little bit. So I'm not going to go 9 and 10 just because of the intelligence, but I think an 8 would be fair. 8 or 9, I'm happy with that. Ooh, what did I see in the chat? I saw a super chat from Melaku. I'm not sure how to say your name. Melaku. I'm going to go with Melaku, but let me know if I'm wrong. Thank you very much, though, for the super chat. That is so kind of you, saying, good morning from Toronto. I'm a big fan. Well, mate, I am now a very big fan of yours, too. Thank you very much for the super chat. Very kind of you. Guys, you know what to do. Get some love hearts in the chat for this man, because that is beautiful behaviour. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the super chat. Hope you keep enjoying the content. Thank you very much. Guys, that chat should be full of love hearts for him. Show some love. Show some love. It's an 8. He does a lot of work, but it rarely actually leads to high turnovers, weirdly. Yeah, I can see that. I'm happy with the 8. I'm happy with the 8. Anyway, ground coverage, physicality, duel winning. Not his strong point, right? At the end of the day, this is an attacking midfielder. Someone who I think plays his best football high up the pitch. So he's not necessarily someone that we talk about in all his defensive work, apart from high. Ground coverage. He covers the ground well, despite not necessarily having the greatest stride length. You know, he's not a ground eater, but he does still get himself about the pitch. Physicality, he's obviously lacking. He's obviously lacking there because he's not the strongest player in the world. Duel winning, inconsistent. A bit like Ugarte in that sense. A little bit inconsistent. I'm seeing a lot of 6s and 5s down there. I think a 6 might be about right. AJ, you're doing so well on the other channel. I hope it grows because it has some quality content. Hey, thank you very much. I really like the second channel. I like it over there. It's good fun. I actually maybe prefer it at the moment, and maybe that comes across in my energy as well. But I need to address that on the main channel. Anyway, 6. Yeah, the physicality brings it down. He's a 6 or a 7. I'm happy with that. And then, last up, his deep defense on the edge of the box. So his defensive screening, his aerial duels and his box defense. He's obviously going to be low here, but it's not the end of the world because that's not what we have him for, right? That's not why we play him. We don't play him to protect the edge of the box. So we're talking like a 4 or a 5 here, probably. Compensates well with his stamina. Yeah, and his work rate. And his just relentless nature. Absolutely relentless. He's unbelievable. And again, like I said right at the start, there isn't going to be a player which gets 8s all over the board because that footballer doesn't really exist. You know, that's not a player out there. So this isn't a massive criticism, right? To put him at like a 4 isn't an insult. It's just not his game. And what I'm trying to kind of clarify with this stream is it's about building a balance. It's about building a squad, and particularly in the midfield zone, that not one player is complete, but collectively as a whole, you know, we've got 4 or 5 players that between them complete our midfield. So we have someone who is physically really good, or we have 2 or 3 players that are physically really good. Then we've got a couple of really good passers or a couple of good carriers. And sort of between them we cover everything so that one player doesn't have to. That is basically the aim. He should be a 1, but he makes up for it with the effort, so I'd say a 5. It's definitely his weakest area. I think a 4 is fair. By the way, guys, no spam in the chat, please, and thank you. If not, it will result in a timeout, which you don't want that to happen, so don't spam, please, and thank you. Anyway, Kobbie Mainoo. I miss this guy. Not playing football for us at the moment, of course, because of injury. He's been injured for a little while now. And I miss watching him play football. I think this season he's become underrated. Has he played as well under Ruben Amorim as he did Ten Hag last season? Probably not. But I think he has become criminally underrated. I think he's still a very good player for us. So let's give him the props he deserves, but also point out the areas where he needs to improve. It's a team game. Exactly, mate. And yes, I am more than happy to do more of these streams to cover some of the other positions. Especially wing-backs, quite an interesting one. Happy to do that. Centre-backs as well. Anyway, Kobbie's best trait is his press resistance. Well, let's talk about that. Kobbie Mainoo in the first phase. Press resistance, ball retention, volume passing. He is not a volume passer, I will say that much. He's not someone who sort of dictates the game with passing everywhere. But in terms of ball retention, I think he's quite good. And his press resistance is very, very good. I'm thinking sort of 8 here. In the first phase I'm talking about. His best attribute by a mile, he is very good at keeping the ball when passing backwards and sideways and resisting the press. I agree. I would actually like to see him given more license to do this more regularly. I want to see more of that. Kobbie in a 10 role? Chad, there is something there, isn't there? There is something there. I'm trying to think, who in the Premier League is better in the first phase? You know, someone like Rodri, unbelievable in the first phase. Trying to think just across the league, who is there playing in this position? Someone like Caicedo at Chelsea is good in the first phase. Kovacic is good in the first phase. Arsenal sort of lack that a little bit. Odegaard drops in quite nicely and does it. He's not better than Bruno at it. I actually think he is this phase. This phase, I think he is. 7-8 just because of lack of passing numbers. I think this is a proper 7.5 job again. I can hear the 7 shout because of the lack of passing range. I do understand that. Yeah, Rodri obviously an amazing player in the first phase. Gravenberch has been good there. Lavia is a great shout. I think he's amazing in the first phase. Criminally underrated. Yeah, there's some good players out there. I'm trying to think. Is Kobbie better than them in the first phase? You know, he's not a 10. He's not the very best. Rodri probably is. Rice is good in the first phase, but in a different way. In sort of a safer way, yeah. Guimaraes is strong in the first phase. Do we reckon an 8 here? I think he is better than Bruno in the tight spaces, if we're being fair to him. If we're being fair. He's obviously not going to rate as highly as Bruno in other areas because he's much younger. You know, he's not into his development as much. But we'll put him there. Anyway, next up, volume passing, tempo setting, and progressive passing. I'm interested to hear what you guys say here. I also want to check if we have the numbers from last year. So last year we done it on a scale of 1 to 5, and this is some of the numbers that we came up with. So Mainoo was a 4 in this area. Look how much Bruno's improved. This was last year's one, by the way. Oh, it's slightly shifted across so you can't see it properly. But that's quite interesting to look at. That's quite interesting to look at. Even someone like Mason Mount isn't going to be included in this conversation anymore because we don't see him in that position. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, what do we reckon for Kobbie in this area? He's not a progressive passer for me. He can be, though. I think he can be. Tempo setting, I think he does well. Not necessarily in the way that I first meant when I typed this out. I was thinking more of a player who sort of dictates the tempo with passing, but he does it actually more with sort of slower touches to control the tempo, so I quite like him there. Volume passing, yeah, I agree with you there, David. A low volume passer, but those passes set the tempo of the game, honestly. Yeah, Chad, it was 1 to 5 last year. 1 to 5. Like I said, it's interesting how much we rate Bruno as a more complete midfielder now, though, in the deep phase. Like I said, I think he's improved. I didn't necessarily mean that much, but hey-ho. Good short passes, not long range. I would agree with that. He does need to work on the long range to be a true tempo setter. His tempo setting goes under the radar, in my opinion. Elite, hiding in plain sight. I like it. I like it. Bruno has been our main source of goals. Yeah, that's why I put him as a 10 there. Stop overrating Kobbie. I do apologise. Collyer has outperformed him in the pivot. Kobbie played in a double pivot all last season, though, interestingly. Why is McTominay so highly rated? He was highly rated for his final third work, and his defensive work here is what we appreciated. Yeah, what do we reckon for Kobbie? Is he a 6? Is he a 7? 6, 7, 6, 7. Again, he's very young, so he doesn't have to be fully developed yet. 6, 7. He's not an 8 because he's not as good as Bruno here yet. What do we reckon, guys? 6 or 7? This is your chance to put an extra number in the chat. 6 or 7? What do we reckon? Seeing a couple of 6s. What do you reckon, guys? 6 or 7? And again, what we're talking about here, let me just clarify this, is we're talking about his work here. So, oh my god, I forgot to include ball carrying, didn't we? Ball carrying. That's going to boost the rating. He's a very good ball carrier. Very good ball carrier. Very good in the take-on. We completely forgot to talk about that. That's going to boost that rating to 7. Ball carrying is important as well. So we're talking about dictating with passing range, things like that. Yes. Progressive passing, yes. But also taking the ball and carrying through midfield. Kobbie. So I think 7, right? I think we got to a 7 for that. I forgot to mention that. If you look at the numbers on his FBref report for take-ons and things like that, go have a look. Go have a look on his FBref. It's mint. It's very, very good in terms of taking players on. The volume is high. But the success rate is good as well. Yeah, I think that boosts him to a 7. If we're talking pure passing game, we're talking a 6. His carrying is an 8, so we go in between at 7. Now time for the final third. Half space work, zone 14 creativity, ball striking. Now this is an area where we were probably a little bit harsher than him last season. This year, I think he's improved. In Amorim's system, where he plays as sort of like one of the 10s, I think he's become quite good here. Obviously, we're not talking elite still, but I think he has improved. Problem is that he takes people on and gains 10 yards, and then he passes 15 yards backwards. I mean, I just disagree respectfully. I just don't think that's true. He's not good enough to be an 8 just due to his ball carrying. I think he's got good short passing. He's got good ball retention, which in turn at times makes him a good tempo setter, and he carries the ball well. He does need to improve passing range, of course, to go into anywhere near an 8, 9 or 10. But I think at the moment, if we're talking here, a 7 is fair. Here, final third. He's still not purely creative though, is he? But he did make goals last year, and we do have to base some of it on last year as well. We're not talking purely this season, but the player that we know is there. Half space work, I like it. Although he still doesn't deliver from the half space in terms of creativity. He links well in the half space, but he's not the one to play the cross himself, is he? So his final third game is criminally underrated. I think it's massively improved. Are we talking a 6 or a 7 here, I think? 6 or 7, maybe push to an 8. I think he isn't an 8 just yet. He isn't intense enough in the game. He needs to immerse himself more, make his presence known. That's what I want him to become. I want him to become that player that goes, give me the ball. You know, give me the ball. I'm going to make something happen. I want him to develop into that. Hopefully that happens. Hopefully Amorim is going to give the tactical freedom for that to happen as well. I think what we've got to remember is the team that we were 6 weeks ago when Mainoo was playing is quite different to what we are now. We have seen recently a team that is more free on the ball, positionally a lot more rotations. I think actually in the system we're using right now, I think on the ball we'd be seeing Mainoo being a very, very useful player for us. You know, when we sort of shift to that diamond in the middle, I think that would really suit him now. I think that would really suit him. So I am looking forward to his return. Hopefully not too long after the international break, but we shall see. Alex, good morning, mate. How are you? What are we going for here, guys? What are we going for? 6, 7, 8. 6 is fair. He's improved from last year. He certainly has improved. 8 when it's more consistent. Yeah, I wouldn't go as high as 8 for now. For me, it's a 6 or a 7. 6 or 7. What do we reckon? And I'm not sure if we're going to get to the bottom 2 midfielders or not, because we don't think they're going to be here. Mainoo is showing his final third ability that he was showing in Academy. Yeah, I agree. 7 because of his tight passing spaces. Yeah. I'm really torn here. I really want to type 6.5. Zone 14 creativity, he lacks. Ball striking. Did score some really nice goals last season. Yeah, I'm not bad, thanks, Alex, mate. Not bad. I'm really, really stuck. 6 or 7, 6 or 7. What do we reckon? This is the purest 6.5 I've ever seen. Six. I think there's more 6s in the chat than there are 7s. I'm going to put 6 for now, but hopefully he comes back and sort of shuts us up on that one. Hopefully he shuts us up. Anyway, time for some defensive work. Now, I was really critical of him here last season, and I got hated for it. I was saying that physically he was struggling and stuff, and I got a lot of hate for that. I think people now are coming to terms with it a little bit more. I think last year we had the roasting classes on a little bit with Kobbie. He can strike a ball. He can. I wish he did it a bit more. Anyway, Kobbie defensively. Aerial duels, I think he's stronger than we expected. I think he's actually not bad in the air. Slightly underrated. Ground coverage and things like that, not very good. His duel winning isn't actually bad, but his ground coverage is poor. Pressing intelligence and intensity, lacking. Although also partly due to sample size, I think. Yeah, by the way, guys, if you could please leave a like on the stream, I think we should aim for 100. I think we should aim for 100 likes on this stream if possible. So if you haven't already, if you could please leave a like, that would be amazing. I don't actually know how many of you guys are in here right now, but if you could leave a like, please, that'd be great. Bearing in mind that Chelsea are after him, so can we actually hang on to him? Who knows? Is there a reason we're not including Mount here? I get the feeling he's going to be used more as one of the 10s, is why I'm leaving Mount out for now. Maybe another day we can discuss him and like Casemiro, Eriksen, some of the youth players as well. I just get the feeling he's going to end up not as a central midfielder, a little bit higher. Over 200 people watch him. Guys, we can press like. We can press like. Please, press it. Press it. We need to get 100. We need to get 100. He's a 4 out of possession, to be honest, across the board, or would you say it differs? 5, he puts in the odd good tackle, but he is more of an opportunistic defender rather than a consistent defender. Obviously, he's not as good as Ugarte. Pardon me, I do apologise. Sorry if you can hear the dog in the background. He's not as good as Ugarte. Like I said, I think his aerial duels are a little bit better. Defensive screening, not too bad. 5, 4. Is he better than Bruno? He's got a bit more aerial presence. Mount's intensity could work for centre mid. It could. It could. Again, sorry about the dog. 5, 4, 3, 2. Thunderbirds. Sorry. What do we reckon? 6, 4, 5. I would say he's better deep because the pitch isn't as open. The pitch isn't as open when he plays in a deeper... Like, when he's screening in front, there's less space, which I think suits him more. I actually like Mainoo in our own box. Like I said, I think he's actually decent in the air and things like that. I think a 5 is probably fair. Ground coverage, physicality, duel winning. Like I said, duel winning, not bad. Not bad. Physicality, he can hold his own. Ground coverage, poor. His ground coverage is poor. We can't deny that. You know, he almost looks like he's running through mud a little bit at times when he's trying to track back. Is this another 5 and then pressing stuff's going to go down to a 4 maybe? Chad, what on earth have you just said? 6, 4, 5 makes sense. Ground coverage, physicality, duel winning. 4. Never apologise about the Borka. We love the Borka. Okay, I probably will at some point. So I'm not going to say that. But I will apologise about the Borka less. 5 across the board. Just very mid out of possession. 4. That's what we're going to do. Okay? 4. Next, Toby Collyer. Toby Collyer. Pretty good footballer. I quite like him. I'm quite a big fan of this young man. I think, obviously, technically, he has certain limitations. But what I love about him is the physical foundation he brings to this squad is amazing. Long legs, like we said, broad shoulders, good in a tackle, good in the air, works hard, covers ground, good tackling technique. I like Collyer off the ball. On the ball, slightly more limited. He's not the most progressive player in the world. He's fairly safe on the ball. Let's get to some ratings. What do we reckon? We'll start with in possession, and then we'll finish on the high of Collyer out of possession. We're not going to cover the other two today, just because this has taken a little bit longer than I expected. I forgot how long it takes to do these. What was I going to say? But maybe we'll cover them another day. Although, to be fair, I think these two probably aren't going to be here next season anyway. So, yeah. Anyway, Collyer, first phase. Like someone has said in the chat there, yes, the sample size is small. We do need to consider that. Press resistance, ball retention, volume, passing. I would say he has ball retention. I think he's good there. Does he have volume passing? Not yet. Certainly not in the first team. Press resistance. I can't really recall, and again, this is the small sample size. I can't really recall Collyer doing an awful lot of work in the first phase, to be honest. So it's a little bit tough to say. I wonder if he's like... Is he just 5s across the board on the ball? Maybe a little bit lower in the final third. Are we on the ball? Are we going like 5, 5, 3? Something like that? Is that fair? Is that fair, do we reckon? I do like his ball retention. But he doesn't do the other stuff. Like press resistance, I haven't seen it yet. Volume passing, I haven't seen it yet. Progressive passing, not really. He sometimes carries well, to be fair, which we should add. He does sometimes do that well. Tempo setting, not really. 10 more likes, by the way, on the stream, guys, and we'll be at 100. So if you could please press like if you haven't already. Please press it. Please press it. Is it 5-5-3 across the board on the ball? Partly because of the small sample size, we need to see a lot more. A lot more. Out of possession. Out of possession. Toby Collyer, I like him. I like him. I think defensively he screens pretty well. I think his aerial duels are strong. Box defense not bad. Ground coverage, physicality, duel winning, I think he's really strong. Really, really strong. Personally, I think he's better than Ugarte in the first phase. I think I would just hesitate to match him with Ugarte just because of, again, the sample size. We need to see it a little bit more. I can't really recall seeing an awful lot of Collyer, particularly against a pressing team. You know, I can't really remember a pressing team putting Collyer under pressure. Has he got to turn out in those moments? I don't really recall it. I don't really recall it massively. Out of possession, I'm going to boost the numbers that you guys are saying in chat because there's one area in particular I think he's amazing. I think Collyer is probably the most complete midfielder we have, especially defensively. I think defensively he is our most complete, apart from just needing to learn tricks of the trade. Casemiro, help him out there, please, mate. Right, let me give some of my opinions here. Defensive screening, aerial duels, box defense. I think I'm happy to go like a 6 here. Like a 6. I don't think he is a true proper deep midfielder. Here, controversial. I physically rate this guy so much. Not a pause, right? I think his ground coverage is amazing. I think his physicality is so underappreciated. If we're talking about Ugarte being a good disruptor, watch this guy disrupt the play. There's just little moments that he just sort of gets across a player and makes them look like children, even though he's the youngster on the pitch. I think he is so good physically. And realistically, that is what out of possession 2 or D2 is all about. It's more the physical side of the game. I think he's really, really strong here. Really, really impressed with him. I like him there. I like him there a lot. Aerial duel, he is best in our midfield, apart from Casemiro. He's better than Ugarte defending deep just due to his size. I need to see a bit more in terms of the screening department. I need to see a bit more. But honestly, physically, I think this guy, if Collyer was like technically better, we'd have a real prospect on our hands here. Unfortunately, on the ball, he is lacking, which is probably going to hold him back in his career in terms of ever being like a true elite starting midfielder for us. But if we're talking this part here, I get Declan Rice vibes. And in this department here, I'd give Declan Rice a 10 because I think he's the best in the league at it, one of the best in the world. Collyer, of course, is not that level yet. Maybe we go down to 7 because he's not played enough football. But I really think he's good here. I think physically he's really impressive. Like David said there, he uses his legs so well. His legs are like 12 foot long or something. The way he just stretches across people. He, again, proper disruptor. Proper really good disruptor. There's little moments where I watch him. And it was in the game against... Who did we play last? I can't think who it was. Literally the last game, we just played them. Was it Leicester? Leicester. I haven't actually got the moments written down, but I want to go back and watch the game to pick them up for proof in the future. There's 2 moments in the game where Ugarte goes in for a tackle and Fernandes goes in for a tackle. And because, and this is a physical thing, because they've got quite short legs, you know, compared to other players, they both really struggle with the tackle they go for. They physically don't have the reach for it. And then you see other clips of Collyer, which I've collected, and he just makes it look so easy. So easy. Again, this isn't even a technical thing. It's just the fact that his legs are longer. He can literally reach further, which makes tackling just that little bit easier for him. In terms of almost like his range, if you're trying to go past him, he's difficult to get past. So I'm not going to go 8. You're right. That is a bit too high for a player who hasn't played enough football. He hasn't played enough football. You're right, though. He is better physically than Ugarte. You are right. Yeah, you are right. He is better than Ugarte physically. And we've got Ugarte as a 7. He might be an 8 for the physical. We are talking about physicality here. You know what? I think the sample size is too small to give him an 8 anywhere. I don't think he can have an 8 anywhere. Now, in terms of the pressing stuff, I'm not so sure here. Again, I think the sample size is quite small. We've just seen a stat in the chat there that he hasn't made a tackle in the final third. By the way, Coke, thank you for the stats today. They've been really useful. In the final third, I don't think the sample size is massively there because he's often coming on late in game states where we're probably protecting a lead or something like that. So we can't go too high here. It's almost like an NA because we don't actually know almost. What do you reckon? Do we just lump him at like a... I think intensity-wise, I can imagine he's going to be good. Pressing intelligence, we're yet to see it. So do we just sort of lump him as a 5 for now and come back to it another day? Or a 6, perhaps? Give him a 6, perhaps, there? Because, again, we can't judge what we haven't seen. Right? We can't judge what we haven't seen. So I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And like I said, we're going to leave the other 2 for another day. So what we need to do is just quickly add these up. So we got, what's that? Is that 26 there? No, that's a 5. Where's my bloody... There we go, 26. What's that? 13, 25. Is that 22? Is that 22? Oh, is that 22 as well? I think. Is that 24? 26. Is my maths right? Is my maths right? Let me put them in bold so you can see it a bit better. Let me do that. So that's not individuals rating, that's departments at United. Which is actually quite interesting. That's very different to what we had last year. Obviously, there's different players in there. Last year, we didn't have Ugarte in there. We didn't have Collyer in there. So it is going to be different. Oh, Simon in the chat. Simon, thank you very much with the £2 super chat. Simon, thank you. Best informative channel on here. Well done, AJ. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you. And you guys have beat me to it with the love hearts in the chat. What a legend. Thank you very much for the support. As always, mate. As always. Thank you. Do you want the total for the players as well? But then I've got to do maths. And can someone do the maths for me? Is that like 36? Is it? 15, 22, 25, 30, 36, 15, 25, 29, 35. Is that Bruno 43? Is that right? Control B also makes bold. Hey, Chad, mate, get your gadgets out of here. Let me go across and click bold, all right? Maths, sorry. 15, 21, 26. Is that 34? Not sure if I agree with that. 10, 13, 19, 26, 32. Hey, let me do my maths, all right? I'm cooking. Is that right? Mainoo, we've undersold Kobbie. Kobbie is not 2 ratings better than Collyer. Steve, good morning, sir. How are you? And Chad, I'm going to click bold up here just to annoy you, mate. Hold that. We've undersold Kobbie Mainoo massively. We've undersold that. Where would we change him? Where would we change him? Can't you do calculations on a spreadsheet? Hey, I'm just trying to show off that I've got a huge brain with my maths, alright? Let me show off my maths skills. I was in set 1 for a reason, mate. You see how quick that was? Oh, wait, have I been... Can you guys see what I was trying to show you? The totals at the bottom there. Just let AJ do some mental sums. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, Kobbie's is too low. Kobbie's is too low. Where have we done him nasty? He's an 8 in the first phase. I'm fine with that. This is where we need 0.5s, isn't it? Tempo setting, progress. Attentive screen and ground coverage, pressing intelligence. I mean, maybe you could go to a 5 there. Because like I said, I think his duel winning's not bad. It's not bad. Could we go up here? Is that what you're saying? Is he a 7 there, maybe? Do we reckon? And maybe that's a 5? I said the ground coverage is poor, which really brings it down. But if we're just talking about bang average, 6 for out of possession 1, the Everton game last year. True, true. Is that about right? Better in the air than Ugarte, slightly. Collyer is way too high. Yeah, maybe Collyer can come down a little bit sample size wise as well. Yeah, Collier hasn't played a lot of football. Maybe we were generous with Collier. Don't want to change it an awful lot, though. Something like that for Collier, is that better? Is that more like it, do we reckon? Six for in possession 3 is low for someone who can score important goals for us and play an inside forward role. Yeah. Yeah, I've put it to a 7 now. I think we're about there now, right? Oh, I need to change these now. Again, let me do my mental maths, alright? But yeah, Steve, I might be in touch with you at some point. We did have it set at some point, but I messed it up. Mark done it for us last year, but I messed it up. What's that, 23? What's that, 11, 16, 22, which is exactly what it was. 13, 18, 25. 16, 20, 26. Is that better? Is that better? This is what goes on all year in the EA offices. Actual facts. Okay. I think we're there. I think we're there. What do you guys take from that, though? Last year we looked at this and we saw a team which physically was horrendous last year in the ratings. Like, McTominay boosted it so much compared to the others. I think Bruno has improved massively since we last rated him. I think he, like I said, he's a much more complete player under Ruben Amorim. What do you take from that? I mean, if we're talking about in possession 3, we are still lacking something here because Bruno is here on the is hard carrying there. I think also here we lack therefore like a proper dictating midfielder, which I think we've kind of had that idea for a while now. It seems like attacking wise pressing wise we're pretty okay with that. I think also we have to consider if Bruno's not a midfielder next year, you know, if he's more of a 10, then we've only got 3, Kobbie Mainoo, Ugarte, 2 of them extremely inexperienced. Ugarte is either too high or he's more important than we expected. Yeah, I would make an argument for, I said it earlier, for a 6 for Ugarte here. Because I think it's weaker than the other two sides, the ground coverage and the duel winning. In my opinion, I would personally bring that down one. Maybe I will, not 45, maybe I will like override you guys on that one a little bit and do that. Which takes that to, what, 24? I know I'll get roasted for this here, but Bruno is lean, but seems to have a nice amount of muscle this year. And I think it's helped him a lot in early phases. I do think he's just a much more complete player than what we had before. I'm really interested to see the development with Bruno. Does he go higher, back into one of the 10s, or is he one of our central midfielders? I don't know what's going to be. Yeah, basically, guys, what I want you to quickly do before we wrap this stream up, really enjoyed this stream, by the way. What I'd like you to do before we leave is use this information here to decide what you think we need next season or in the summer. If you could sign a midfielder, what do you think is like the sort of ratings that we need? So yeah, Dictator's put a nice message in chat there. What we do need is someone solid in P1 and P2 and out of possession 1 and 2. That's what I want to see. What do you guys think? What like 4 areas of that do we need to prioritize in our summer signing? It's going to be difficult to find that complete player. But what do you think we need from that signing? What do you think we need? Of course, also last year we were talking about midfield trios as opposed to midfield duos this year, so it is a little bit different. But, you know, I think we need maybe a first phase player. Someone who can progress. We do need a progressive player, don't we? We badly need Yeah, obviously a 10 in every category, but we're not going to get that. So let me write this down real quick. What we think we need in each area. Like I said, obviously we want 10s, but it's not going to happen. So get out of your head. Let me quickly write this down. I just put 3 P's in out of possession. Who knows what the other one stands for? I meant to say 3 O's as well, not P's. I'm losing my mind. We need a time machine and get the real Casemiro. Nice. Alex saying we need P1, P2, D2, D3. P1, P2. So yeah, not someone creative, but someone who does the early work and the high work defensively. I think we definitely need someone here. The volume passing, the tempo setting, the progressive passing. We need to sign someone who's going to do well there. Particularly the passing. I think, some of this stuff is slightly skewed because someone like Kobbie, his dribbling and his carries us a little bit higher, even though his progressive passing isn't necessarily there. So I think we do need... I want someone for P2. We need someone for P2. So let me put that down. What do we want from a P2? If we can get a 7-8 P2, that'd be great. 7 or an 8 P2. I don't think we need too much in the final third because I think Bruno is that good that he can do a lot of work. And I think also in our system, I think the wing-backs are going to do a lot of the work for us. So I don't put too much value in that on this player. A 3 or 4 sort of job, I think will be fine. Do we need someone who's better in the first phase? Press resistance, ball retention, volume passing. What we got there? We got Mainoo, who's an 8. The next highest is Bruno as the 7, but we're probably going to try and push him a little bit higher, right? So we probably need someone who's decent in the first phase, right? We probably want someone who's decent in the first phase. Yeah, Steve, Manu Kone's a really nice player. As a Serie A match-going fan, and then next message, I went to one match on holiday. Hope you had a good holiday, by the way, mate. Was the match any good? And yeah, Kone's a really nice player. I've been speaking about him for 3 years, I think now. I had first done a video on him. Good player. Out of possession, what are the priorities here then? What are the priorities? Ground coverage, this would suggest, right? Because we haven't got higher than a 7 there. Haven't got higher than a 7 there. Some of the screening work. Oh, this is tough. Again, it's weird because Bruno, we don't know where exactly he's going to play. I don't think we need like someone elite physically. But I think we need someone who can really sort of hold their own. That's Snicky. Let me have a look, mate. Need a 9 in possession in the first phase and in the second phase. 7+ in out of possession 1 and 2. So not as much as a presser, more the in-between player. Because you got to think back to the system as well, right? The formation we used. Again, by the way, this is using Once Video's coach board. So check that out. Obviously, in terms of like creative work, I don't think we need someone who's amazing because, we are talking about a player to... Let me grab an empty thing. We're talking about a player to play here, really. We are talking about a player to play here. When the wing-backs are high, we get into this sort of 3-2-5 shape. Sometimes we switch to that solo pivot in possession as well, don't we? I think we are looking at this player here. So they don't need to be the most creative up here. We do need someone who can do the first phase work, like we've said. Someone who can dictate the game with passing. Defensively, I don't know how important the pressing is because it is sort of dictated by the system that we use as well. I don't think defensively we actually need someone elite. I think physically they've got a solid base. I think we can work around it with the rest of them. Obviously, it depends on the partner as well. One game is going to be Ugarte, then it'll be Bruno, then it'll be Kobbie or Collyer, whoever. I think it's difficult. Next season, Mainoo and Collyer will improve 100%. 100%. Even Bruno will get better. Like I said, I think he already has under Amorim. We need goals and creativity. I think the aim in this system, though, is that the goals and creativity are going to come from this lot. Alex, it's a shout. It's a shout. It was brilliant. Everyone should plan their Italy trips around a cheeky league game. Yeah, I'm looking at going on holiday at some point this year abroad, and my plan is to base it around a football match. I don't know which one, but yeah. Difficult considering budget constraints too, of course. What do we reckon? I want just a final opinion on what sort of numbers we need out of possession. Obviously, 10-10-10, not going to happen. What numbers would you say we need here? Probably more of the screening work, right? Because we are low there. Obviously, in an ideal world, we don't do a lot of low block defending, of course. But we need something decent there. I don't know that the pressing is the most essential. I think we can cover that with the wing-backs, with the inside forwards, with the striker. Bruno. Okay, I think I've got an idea now. I think I've got an idea of the sort of player that we need. What I might do, guys, is a sort of like a follow-up to this. There's no telling when it will be. It might be in 2 months because of the research time. I might make note of this. I'll keep the document. And I might see if I can try and find a midfielder who ticks these boxes. So what I've gone for is a 7 or 8 in the first phase in possession, a 7 or 8 in the second phase of possession, 3 or 4 in the final third, because I don't think it's too important. And then out of possession, I've gone for a 7 in the low block, 7 or an 8 in terms of physicality, and then I've gone quite low on the pressing because I think others can pick up that work a little bit higher. Okay? That's what I've gone for. Do you agree with that? You want some suggestions here? I've got a bunch. Yeah, sure. Put some names in the list. I've got a document where I look at different players and make notes on them. But if you want to put some names down below, always welcome. Always welcome. Again, if you're in the Discord server, link at the top of the chat. If you're in the Discord server, there's a channel where I do like video ideas and stuff. If you want to chuck players in there for me to watch, you can do that. Or there is a player discussion channel as well, which you can check out. And again, if you want to list names in there for me to watch, go for it. That's Adam Morton, in my opinion. It's not miles off, honestly. It's not miles off. And what age? Under 23 only? I'd say under 27. Discord link in your description has expired. Oh, I do apologise. There is a link in the chat, though. If you look at the top of the chat, there's a link to the second channel and the Discord, so you can use that one. That one should be more up to date. Do apologise. But try the one at the top of the chat pinned by David, and that should work. Casemiro and Bruno should help more the defensive line. Yeah, of course we're thinking about Casemiro and Eriksen probably leaving. Imagine doing one of these for Real Madrid. Oh, it'd be ridiculous. It'd be about 100 midfielders to go through. We'd be here for 6 hours. Yeah, if you guys would like to do something similar, if you've enjoyed this, because like I said, we've done this a few times on the channel this time last year, but I know we've had a lot of growth in the last year, so there's a chance some of you guys have never seen this anywhere on the internet before, this way of breaking down a squad. If this is something that you've enjoyed, that you've liked doing, let me know, and we can do this again for wing backs, for inside forwards, for centre backs. Strikers, bit of a tricky one because you tend to only play with one rather than 2 or 3. But we can cover different players here, cover different positions. So if you would like to see that, let me know in the chat, let me know in the Discord, or DM me somewhere and be like, I like that stream, mate. Let's do it again for a different position. You know, just let me know what you like to see. In terms of today, though, by the way, I am seeing all these names in the chat. I'm going to go back through them later and write some of them down. Several of them also already on my list as well. But yeah, I'll go through those properly later. It's definitely more detailed and gets you thinking about specific traits. I think it's an important exercise to do to get you to think a little bit differently about the squad. It's easy to go, we need a midfielder, but what do we need? It helps you sort of like focus on what the squad really, really needs. Yeah, by the way, guys, link in the chat there from David to the Discord server. Use it. Use it, use it, use it. Use it. I think apart from that, we're finished. Join the Discord server so you guys can give me some more names, because the chat one didn't work either. Okay, there's a new one in the chat now. Let me pin the new one. Let's try this one. Hang on. Jonathan, there's a new one now in the chat. Has it updated? There you go. There's a new one pinned at the top of the chat. Try that one. I do apologise. Hey AJ, this is Andrew from Uganda. I really love what you do here. Well, thank you very much. Welcome to the stream. Unfortunately, I'm now wrapping up, but thank you very much for the kind words. Hello from England. What did I just pressed something on my keyboard? I could have blown it up or something. Yeah, try that new link that I've just pinned at the top of the chat from David. Try that one instead. Hopefully that will work. That works. Perfect. Sorry for the confusion there. Welcome to the Discord server, mate. If anyone else wants to join, the link is at the top there. Get that place up popping. I need to know some midfielders that you want me to look at. In terms of stream-wise, yeah, David, that's my bad as well. The description one is expired. The stream, I think we're finished there. So, Chad, why, mate? I just didn't need it in my life right now. Thank you guys very much for watching. I think this has been a fun stream to do. It's been quite interactive. It gets you guys involved. I mean, you guys are heavily involved anyway with the tactical previews and stuff. But I think doing it like this, literally asking you to give these explanations, gets you guys really involved. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. Slightly different. And yeah, we're going to do this again. We're going to do this again for a different position. Maybe tomorrow. I could either do this again tomorrow for a different position, or we can what was I going to say? Do a stream on the second channel tomorrow. Or I've completely lost what I was going to say. The second channel tomorrow, looking at the England squad. If I figure out the stream setup. So again, let me know in the Discord what you'd rather see. We got a message from the Football Bloody Terrace. Talk about big time. Hi AJ, we have sent you an email. Would love you to read it. I shall be reading that email. I look forward to opening it. I will get back to you this afternoon. Thank you very much. Go eat some yogurt, Chad. I'm interested now, boys. I'm going to leave the stream so I can go read this email. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed the stream. Thank you for all the likes, anyone that subscribed, gifted memberships, anyone who renewed their memberships. What have I said? Liked the stream, been involved in the chat. Did we do any polls today? I don't think so. If you joined the Discord, thank you. If you left a like, thank you. If you subscribed, thank you. If you hate me, less thank you. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you hopefully tomorrow for some sort of stream. Videos coming on the way. Yeah, I'll see you all very, very soon. So thank you for watching. Hope you